Welcome to another important lecture. In this lecture, we will try to explore the US foreign policy. Uh, though the topic is very lengthy, but we will try to sum up it in few minutes. So let's start. What foreign policy is, or what is the history of foreign policy? Actually, foreign policy or the topic of foreign policy is not a new one. With the After the Treaty of Westphalia 1648 and after the end of First World War and the Second World War, you see that the international system witnessed development and growth of nation states. So the end product was the development or creation of the or interaction of the nation states. So in addition, we see that with the establishment of United Nations and the process of decolonization, we see the liberation of different nations and emergence of different entities, and this gave importance or impetus to the interconnections or interrelationships among the states. So, which resulted into the formation of foreign policies. So now, Paddleford and Lincoln is an important definition that from this very definition we see that uh, the end product of foreign policy is the preservance of the national interest. So the conceived goals and the interest in the specific course of action. Uh, and What are the three parts of foreign policy? Foreign policy is why or how it or what for what purpose is it has been taken, and how it has been taken, and what are the procedures has been taken in this regard. So the end consists of the desired outcomes or the objectives or the set interest of the states, or when it is interacting with the another state or the actors. So it is added to do on certain what are the ways, like certain strategies are being adopted, or certain ideas are like in the form of diplomatic tactics or coercion or many other in order to pursue the desired interests. So how it consists by of means they consist of the available resources at a state's disposal, like the economic or military and so on. So in this lecture we will try to explore US foreign policy. Let's start from a very important Barack Obama's lines that I'm confident that America's foreign policy rebalance to the region will endure beyond my presidency because it is in the national interest of the US. So, America, Obama's lines shows that it was the America's national interest for the want of which it pursues foreign policies. US foreign policies have been here in this lecture been divided into three very important phases, that before 1945 and after 1945 and after 9/11. So roughly we see that before 1945 America adopted the policy of isolationism from its inception to 1945, that due to its geographical location it cut off from the world affairs and what conflicts, so it was passing a very smooth way of life. So secondly, that it need no economic or territorial benefits. So it didn't aspire for those benefits. So there was no clash of America with any of the states. So no hostility of America with any of the other states. So it also was keen to get these benefits. So it was not also keen to get those economic or territorial benefits. Perfectly adopted isolationism. Second was ethical values and individual liberty. So these ethical and democratic principles occupied U.S. foreign policy in its domestic and not only in its domestic, but also in its international settings or international dealings. So it promoted individual liberty, equality, rule of law, and maintenance of the positive image of America on the global level. Second phase, that is post World War II period, that is mainly called the Cold War era. And in this era, the three important elements compelled America to change its foreign policy. That how America, why America changed its policy in after World War II. One is the first one is the bipolar structure of the world, that the world became bipolar with the emergence of USSR as a superpowers, and America on the one side, which is champion of capitalism, and USSR was the champion of communism, so they adopted it. So after the war, that Britain, Germany, France, and Japan, they became weak, and America wanted to help those countries. So the war, they are due to their destruction in the war. So as well as America wanted to maintain or create, rather maintain its dominancy in the world affairs. So it took advantage of that very situation of bipolar structure of the world, and started to maintain its dominancy in the world affairs. So military development and nation the security. Then changes and control. America was the champion of the land power, but it also wanted to control not only in the land but also in the sea and the air power. So it gave territorial security consideration to it, and so it created alliances. It reduced the system of alliances, and in order to maintain and promote its objectives. And ideological differences, that is the one of the important means we can say the objective. Generally we see that this is comes under the, if we see the Wenzel taxonomy of objectives, so we see that belief system is very important, a middle range objective. So ideological, if we cannot ignore or cannot even ignore these this important area, that is ideology or belief system. So it created the tension between the America and USSR. They wanted to popularize their own ideology. America wanted to popularize its own ideology and suppress the other one. So both these two, throughout the area of the era of the Cold War, they wanted to topple down the other and suppress the other's one. So ideological difference is one of the important. America wanted to introduce that, in order to America wanted to promote its ideology throughout the world, and to not only to promote but also to expand. So ideological differences between these two created more rift, and that was the area. So next one is objectives. Were the objectives of U.S. foreign policy in that very time? America wanted to increase its influence through by what? Through by using the slogan of anti-communism, and it followed. It adopted the domino theory in Western Europe, especially in order to influence its area of influence, and it also influenced its area in even in some part of the Eastern Europe and many of the other areas throughout the world. So it built on supremacy, and it can increase its defense capability in order to do that, and then it built a sound economy for that. And as well as America wanted to make a better image of it in the world, like the champion of democracy. Uh, so instruments, what instruments which America used as a source of intervention in the world affairs, that it intervened physically, it intervened spiritually, bilaterally, multilaterally. Somewhere it adopted direct actions, and also utilized skill transfer, technology, and institution building in the world affairs by promotion for the promotion of its objectives, and by utilizing these areas as instruments. So America wanted to do what? It wanted to expand the capitalist bloc. It wanted to build, or it wanted to make a stronghold of capitalist bloc and military alliances. So for that it introduced some military alliances in that very throughout the Cold War time period. That once it adopted isolationism, now it shed it off, and it involved in the Europe, Asia, Middle East. It introduced different kinds of pacts and organizations like SEATO, CENTO, and also use collective security as an instrument for the expansion of capitalist uh, promotion and expansion. So that became that those were the hallmark of America's foreign policy objectives. Let's see that another important factor or element which America used, that was foreign aid. And in foreign aid, first of all, America used Truman Doctrine to help the Greece and Turkey, that those were fighting against the communist Russia, USSR. And then it introduced Marshall Plan to recover the European states who they became weak after and collapse after the world wars. So it wanted to and get the sympathies of those nations in the Europe. So mainly Italy and France, they get help, and almost 18 nations got help by America's foreign aid. And after that, America utilized that foreign aid for its many other related for the fulfillment of its many other related objectives. Still, America is utilizing US aid as an instrument. Sanctions and economic growth are linked and important instruments or tools for which the America are. These may be the objectives or the tools. Objectives are America's promotion of its economic growth and its dominance. So the tools we used are the sanctions and economic growths. So in 1954, it utilized against the Japan, and then to wanted to expand and to export its and wanted to means to exports its access to the world market by the utilization of these important techniques or tools. So it also promoted free trade and open market. So these are the two the key pillars are America's foreign policy: the maintenance of security and the maintenance of prosperity. So we see that Bill Clinton wanted to expand the America's U.S. markets in the world, like in it introduced the NAFTA and BAM, like a big emerging market. So in order to, so you know that after throughout in the last phases of Cold War, we see that the boom of economy became very much, and the importance of economy became important and open. So they almost all the nations sensed the importance of economy. So America uh, used that very important technique of utilizing free trade and open market access to want to hegemonic position throughout the world affairs, even the world markets. So America also utilized some covert actions like the clandestine kinds of activities, like the spies action, to influence the political, economic, and military conditions abroad in order to promote its interest and to retain or promotion of its supremacy in the world. So there are numerous examples of its involvement in different cases. Similarly, oil politics and its access to the raw materials of the world, it did what? We see the example of 1973 Arab-Israel war, where those nations, Middle Eastern nations, initiated an oil OPEC countries and group, that is OPEC, they to cut off their oil to the European nations like Kuwait, Bahrain, and Libya. They did that, but America was annoyed of that, and it wanted to get all those. And so how it get by those by initiating the three kinds of uh, areas, like we see the Iraq Kuwait war and Libyan war. Then after that, and US armies are there for the protection of its interests. The third phase is that is after 9/11. No doubt, even all know about the event of 9/11, that terrorist activities against the World Trade Center and Pentagon, and initiation of terrorist attacks, and it reshaped not only the America's foreign policy, but It changed the future course of action, and throughout the world, we see that, especially in Asia, we see that it changed the political landscaping of the region as well. So initially, America stressed on the U.S. objectives. Those were mainly against the eradication of the terrorist activities or terrorism. So it did against Al Qaeda and many others in Afghanistan, attacked in Afghanistan, and that is the direct actions you see under the guidance of United Nations Security Council. And we see that America did what? America introduced a national security strategy in 2002, and then in 2006 its second phase. And America did many activities regarding one of the important US objectives to eradicate terrorism or global war against terrorism. So we see that as a superpower, what were America's objectives? That it wanted to influence in global affairs, to maintain its hegemonic position in the different regions of the parts of the world, to remain dominant in world scenes, leading the global war against terror with the allied states, to promote its economic interest under the United Nations and emerge as a liberal and developed state, and promote a champion of democracy and promotion of peace and justice, and seeking global peace and prosperity for itself, not only for itself, but the rest of the world. So, thank you very much, students. I hope you find this lecture very important. Thanks.